Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rob's Rogues, and happy 75th anniversary to Robin the Boy Wonder. The video that you clicked on here, as I get my tongue all tied here, is, of course, Robin Rises. This is the thing that I've been working on all month long in the month of April, that hopefully that you're watching this in the month of April, Robin's 75th anniversary month. I missed two comic corners because of working on this podcast type of video that you're about to watch here. So I think with convergence kind of going on, I can get away with that just a little bit more since we're not into actually the monthly stories on my Rob Sunday Comic Corner. So that's kind of been what I'm doing. And the Robin videos that I've been having on Rob's Rogues have kind of suffered a little bit because I've been spending a lot of time doing this. There were 11 issues that made up this Robin Rises story. For those of you that don't know, this is the story of Robin coming back into the New 52, or I guess now into DC Comics. This, by far, hands down, has been my favorite story in the New 52, and that goes up against Court of Owls, which, I mean, I really liked what Snyder or Capullo were doing and are doing in the Batman book. Court of the Owls and Death of the Family and Zero Year were just top-notch books, but there was something special going on in the Batman and Robin book written by Peter Tomasi and drawn by the fabulous Patrick Gleason. Scott Snyder's even said it himself, and I've said it many times here on my channel, that the Batman and Robin book has really been the sleeper book of the New 52, and Snyder has said, if you want the heart and the soul of a Batman book, it's in the Batman and Robin title that just recently ended. Patrick Gleason is going to be taking over writing and drawing duties in Robin, Son of Batman, that's going to be starting after Convergence. This story, again, because I'm such a big Robin fan of all the Robins, and yes, Tim is my favorite, and Damian comes in a very close second right under Tim. But it was this story that Tomasi and Gleason just masterfully told that I'm not going to lie, there's been very few comics that I've read that I've actually kind of shed a tear over, and this is one of them. It's just beautifully done. It's not so much of a Robin story, as you're going to find out, as it is a Batman story. The lengths of the world and universe that Batman is going to travel to, initially to bring back his son. His body's been stolen, and then that kind of takes a different turn and puts Batman on a cosmic journey to bring back his son. I think it's just beautifully, beautifully done. So that's the video you're getting ready to watch, and it's more of an audio kind of a podcast that I do, like on my on my I lose my train of thought, on my Robin Everyone Loves the Drake podcast. But here, being on YouTube, you're going to see video images. So the big thing about this is, I like to put music underneath of the synopsis that I read. There are 11 issues that make up the story, and the other issues are the hunt for Robin, which is the lead-in to Robin Rises. And because of the YouTube police and the copyright stuff that's going on, if the YouTube, listeners or whatever hear copywritten music, it'll flag the video and it could cause the audio to drop out. And I'm not trying to use music to make money and all that stuff. I want to use the music as an illustrative tool so you can enjoy the story rather than you just hearing me read with, nothing there other than just the little inflections that I have and you seeing the images from the comics. So what I've decided to do, and I haven't done it yet as I'm recording this video, is down in the description, and I hope this works, is down here. So in the description where it says, what it is, if you open the description bar up, there should be two links, and I hope that they're both there, that if you're just playing the video, all that you're going to hear is just me reading the synopsis of the 11 issues, and you're seeing the images. But if you want to enjoy this video the way that I intended you to do it, I've kind of found a way to get around you to be able to hear the full audio track with the music. The music, of course, is going to be from all the different Batman movie soundtracks, video games, animated movies, whatever I could find to help illustrate this story I wanted to use. So I'm going to upload 2 files to another place that I use to house my Robin Everyone Loves the Drake podcast. And if you would like to, I kind of hope that you would, so you can hear it the way I intended it to. One track, one version of it will be me reading it as you would hear on YouTube with the music score underneath. So you would download that, then mute the YouTube video so that way you could still see the images of the comics, and then you could hear it fully as I envision it to be. And then with that MP3 file, you could download it into your phone or your iPod or whatever and take it with you, listen to your car, or if you choose to do so. The other version would be the music only track. So you would keep the YouTube audio going. Don't just mute your computer, mute the actual YouTube audio with a little speaker on it. So you could leave that unmuted and then open your music player, whatever it is, and then you could play and have the audio music track going over top of the words that I'm speaking. So those are the 2 different ways to do it. And the way that you'll know to start your audio is when you see the Rob's Rogues logo that you normally see before all my videos. You hit play when you see that, and then you can just sit back and relax. So you can kind of control the level of music. So that's kind of my way around it. And I'm sure somebody's like, Rob, I don't want to go to all the trouble. I don't want to have to download something and then mute, blah, blah, blah. And that's totally fine. But what you only hear is just me talking with no other no music score. It's just kind of, me and my silly voice. I do still funny. I do a couple different voice acts. I don't like voice act the whole thing. I just picked a couple different things to kind of enhance my voice a couple different ways. So I won't say what it is, but you'll know when you hear them. And then I just kind of embellish a little bit as I'm reading you the synopsis. So I hope you enjoy this. This has been one of my favorite stories in the New 52. And this story is in my top 5 favorite Batman and Robin stories of all time. I love the story that much. I hope you guys do too. So this is going to be the conclusion of my April month for the 75th anniversary of Robin. And of course, you know me, there's going to be tons of Robin stuff throughout the year. So I thought I would end it this way in the month of April with the Robin content. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoy this. And if you would like to hear it the full way, you can download one of the 2 files there. The music score, where you could keep the YouTube audio going, or you could download the full audio with the podcast and music score, and then mute the YouTube video. So you can start play once you see the Rob's Rogues logo. I hope you guys enjoy. Hopefully that makes sense. And if you need some help doing it, write down in the comments. And again, if you're somebody that's like, hey, I have it on my phone, this is how I watch, I don't have the ability to download or whatever, that's cool too. Hopefully that you will enjoy just hearing just my dry voice in it. So without further ado, I'm going to stop the rambling. Welcome to the 75th anniversary of Robin and one of my favorite stories. This is DC Comics, written by Patrick Gleason, or excuse me, written by Peter Tomasi, drawn by Patrick Gleason, with art by Andy Kubrick for a couple different issues. This is Robin Rises.
In the Batboat, Batman speeds along the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. Batman is in communication with Alfred as they are trying to track down the sarcophagus of Talia al Ghul and Damian Wayne. Ra's al Ghul has stolen the bodies from the Wayne family plot, and Batman is tracking them down here. Damian had left, they believe, coordinates of a mysterious island. The island is believed possibly to be where Damian was created. Alfred tells Batman he wishes he could have come along on this particular mission. Batman doesn't need to be alone. Batman tells Alfred he has a stowaway, And the stowaway is Titus, Damien's dog, and Titus is sitting in the passenger seat of the Bat Sub. Alfred says he's not entirely sure how Titus gained access to the Bat Sub. Clearly, Alfred put Titus in the Bat Sub. The Justice League indicator begins to go off in the bottom of the Bat Sub, and Batman sees a figure emerge slowly alongside the Bat Sub. In the water, it's Aquaman. Batman tells Alfred he has to go because they have a guest. Batman asks Aquaman what he is doing out this far in this part of the Pacific Ocean. Aquaman says, I was going to ask you the same thing. Batman tells Aquaman that Ra's has stolen the bodies of his son and Damien's mother. Batman is tracking the signal that has led them in this direction. At this moment, Aquaman can hear the screams coming from inside the ocean floor as Batman's equipment in the sub begins to be alerted. Batman can tell he and Aquaman are not alone, and Ra's al Ghul's men begin to attack Batman and Aquaman. On the remote island stands Ra's al Ghul looking over the sarcophagus of his daughter Talia and his grandson Damian Wayne. Ra's had hoped that the Dark Knight would not pose such an early threat to his plans at this moment, but he had hoped the Dark Knight would take a bit longer to find the remote island. But time is of the essence. Raz's plan has been put into motion. Above the sarcophagus of Talia and Damian stands a Chaos Crystal shining above them. Ra's has decided to not let Batman compromise his family reunion. That's why he constantly has contingency plans lay in effect. Ra's can tell that it's two members of the Justice League and orders his men to move the bodies of his daughter and grandson into the shuttle. They're going to take off and make sure that they use the cloaking device on the shuttle and take the Chaos Crystal with them. We are leaving the island, Ra's says. At this time, Batman and Aquaman emerge from the water and begin to take their attack to the land. Raz's man-bats begin to swarm the island. Aquaman and Batman begin to fight their way up the beachhead. As Batman and Aquaman make their way around the beach, they come across some whales that have been beached and murdered. Their bodies are being harvested. Aquaman wants vengeance for the sea creatures. And it's at this time Batman says they need to storm the beach stronghold and move up to Ra's al Ghul's fortress. That's where they're going to find answers to what's happened to Aquaman's sea creatures and Batman's son. Once they make their way into the chamber, they see what has been going on. Ra's has put self-destruct codes into the computer mainframe and is beginning to wipe the evidence. One of the files says Paradise Island. He has also been trying to clone Damian, but the cloning process hasn't taken effect, and there are all types of mutilated Damian clones now getting ready to attack them. How can Batman begin to fight something that looks like his son, even in this grotesque state? They are still part of his son, but Batman has no choice in taking them out one by one. Batman quickly realizes that Ra's is using the DNA from the beached whales to help create these twisted clones of Damian. It's at this time Aquaman realizes he has the telepathic ability to communicate to these twisted Damian clones. Aquaman is able to tell the Damian clones to jump into the ocean. There they can be protected and be studied. While Aquaman is doing this, Batman is racing towards a landing pad where the shuttle is getting ready to take off. Just as the shuttle rockets out of the hangar, Batman leaps on at the last second and begins to punch the canopy glass, saying, "Give me back my son." Ra's looks at Batman and says, "But I am blood of his blood too, Batman. Rest assured, Damian will be in good hands," and turns the jet sideways and knocks Batman off. Batman begins to plummet towards the ocean floor. Aquaman leaps from the water and catches Batman before he hits the ocean waters at incredible speed. Later at the Bat Sub, Batman and Titus get ready to take off on their next set of clues to track down Ra's. Aquaman tells Batman to make sure that he makes Ra's pay for what he's done to the whales. Batman says, "Don't worry, when I catch up with him, I will make him pay." Aquaman says, "I have no doubt that you will." Batman asks about the Heretic Damian clones. Aquaman says, "They're all alive, and I'll escort them down to the Atlantic floor for safekeeping." Batman and Titus take off in the sub. Sometime later in London, England, Diana Prince is entering her apartment and getting ready to head out for the evening. As she is walking through her apartment, she lowers her glasses and hears a voice behind her. "And those glasses work?" Batman says. Diana says, "You'd be surprised how effective they are, giving someone anonymity in public places." Batman says, "Clark's idea." Diana says, "I doubt you came all this way to critique my accessories." Batman says, "I need a ride, Diana." Diana says, "Where?" Batman tells her, "Paradise Island." Batman and Wonder Woman find themselves standing on Paradise Island. Batman also finds himself with the blade up against his throat and a woman getting ready to slit Batman's throat and scolding Wonder Woman for bringing another man to Paradise Island. Wonder Woman tells Alika to lower her blade or she will find Wonder Woman's blade up against her throat. Wonder Woman tells her that he is here to find his son and someone stole his son's body. They may have brought him to Paradise Island for some reason. They're looking for a man who is searching for a Lazarus pit, but Alika says there is no such thing on Paradise Island. And how did this older man come to Paradise Island without an Amazon to guide him? Batman says he does not know, but if there is anyone that could find this place, it would be Ra's al Ghul. Alika says if Batman wants to search the island, he will have to best her in a fight, and she lunges after Batman and kicks Batman to the ground. At this moment, Wonder Woman says they don't have time for this, and if there's going to be any fighting going on, it's going to be between the two of us. Batman removes his mask and says, if the only thing that validates you in the eyes of your immortal sister is by killing a mortal man for sport, then bring it. Just stop wasting my damn time. Alika turns and says the sun has set. You have until dawn to look through the island for what does not exist, and then he will be thrown into the ocean. Wonder Woman says they need to talk to the Oracle first to find out where the spirit is because I've never heard of such a thing either. But first, Wonder Woman must pay her respects to her mother. Meanwhile, Ra's has found the location of a Lazarus Pit entrance on the other side of Paradise Island. It is the only Lazarus Pit that straddles both planes of existence in our world and the Amazons. Ra's looks at the sarcophagus of his grandson and daughter and says, soon we will be a family together again, and I will ask the world to give them your attention. After Wonder Woman pays her respects to her mother that has been petrified in stone, Batman and Wonder Woman move on to the Oracle to ask questions that they need answers to. The Oracle tells them it does not exist. It's called the Cavern of Nikita. Batman replies, the Cavern of the Night. The Oracle says, very good. This musky man knows his Greek. Wonder Woman asks, the Oracle says that once you send yourself into the pit, you will find yourself and your soul will be turned dark before devouring you. The Oracle says, this is someplace dark, referring to the cave. The Oracle says, you will be afraid. Batman says, we are not afraid. The Oracle replies, you will be. Ra's al Ghul, one of the scientists, reached the Lazarus Pit, and the scientist tells Ra's that it's a hard surface. The characteristics of a Lazarus Pit should be green and free-flowing, but this is black and hard. Are you certain you read the scriptures correctly? Ra's replies, quite certain, the scientist says. Ra's takes out his sword and beheads the scientist. Ra's pulls out the Chaos Crystal and gives it to one of his men and tells them to place the crystal inside the active Lazarus Pit. Ra's says he can feel the energy surging beneath his feet. Someone sought to keep this pit inactive, but that time has passed. Ra's asks his men to bring his daughter and grandson closer to him. Just then, a batarang impales Raz's right shoulder. Batman screams, don't do it. Wonder Woman asks Ra's how he found the island. Ra's says it was many years ago, some Spaniards traveling across the world. One priest accidentally stopped the ship at the wrong time. The priest spoke of half-naked women climbing aboard the vessel in the middle of the night and offering themselves to the crew, not knowing that later that night they would be attacked and killed off one by one. The priest covered himself with blood and allowed himself to be thrown overboard with the other corpses of the crew. Later, Ra's would find this priest, and the priest would map his way back to Paradise Island. Then Ra's had the priest killed for his information. Batman tells Ra's this place does not contain the Lazarus Pit. Ra's does not believe Batman and says there are only 2 unique Lazarus Pits left in the world. The nexus of the mystical worlds in this pit will purge their minds of all memories of the past and the pain and suffering they have endured due to parental lapses and error in judgment will be forever. Before Ra's can finish his sentence, Batman says, wiped away. My son's brain a clean slate for you to pollute and manipulate. Ra's says their minds will be like new. They will believe what I believe, and Talia and Damian will be the sun and the rain, and your kind will be looked as weeds that need to be eradicated. Batman says you're going to unleash hell if you break the seal. Ra's says the only thing I'm about to unleash is the start of a new world with the united Al Ghuls leading the way. Let's start with Damian. Below Raz's feet, bubbles come to the surface, and the pool begins to come to life. A black lava-like creature made of hard rock comes to life out of what Ra's thinks is the Lazarus Pit. It is Nika, and Nika begins to attack Raz's men and Raz himself. The monster screams out,
"Zeus, I hunger."
Batman quickly tells Wonder Woman to throw him at Damian's coffin so he can rescue it from the creature. Batman arrives just in the nick of time to swoop up Damian's coffin as the creature's fist comes down on where the coffin once laid. Ra's tells his men to attack the monster. The monster is hitting the side of the cave walls, and boulders begin to come crashing down inside of the cave. One of the boulders is barreling down on top of Batman. Wonder Woman leaps underneath the boulder just in time and raises the boulder from crashing on the Dark Knight. The creature smashes a giant hole in the side of the cave wall. Ra's realizes that fighting is futile and turns to leave and grabs the sarcophagus of his daughter and the Chaos Crystal from the pool, and turns his attention to Batman to retrieve Damian's sarcophagus. One of Raz's man-bats swoop down and take Damian's coffin from Batman's hands and flies towards the ceiling. Raz says, "The skies are my liberator. Goodbye, detective." Wonder Woman is able to throw her lasso around Nikita and subdues him and commands the creature to kneel before her. It says, "On your knees. My lasso commands you to tell the truth. What is your desire?" The creature says,
"The light. I want to see the light."
Batman, Wonder Woman, and the creature walk out to the edge of the Amazon island. To the sunset, the creature can feel the warm light on his face and says,
"I hunger no more."
Nikita happily melts away into the ocean as he is setting out into the sunlight. Batman and Wonder Woman are standing at the edge of Paradise Island. Batman says some people never get a chance to step out underneath the shadow. Wonder Woman replies, "Some people cast longer shadows, Bruce." Batman says Damian turned away from the dark path his mother set him on. He made that choice, just like the creature did to walk into the sun, no matter the cost. "I need to put Damian's body to rest, Diana." Wonder Woman replies, "I know, Bruce." Batman says, "Now point me the way out of here so I can chase that bastard down." Batman arrives in Tibet, somewhere near the Himalayas. Batman and Titus leave the Bat-Sub and start making their trek up the cold, wintry slopes of the Himalayas. As Batman begins to survey the area to see where they need to go next, Batman is grabbed from behind by none other than Frankenstein, and Frankenstein lifts Batman off the ground by his throat and says, "Hello, Batman. You left me in pieces the last time we met." This is referring to the time where Batman thought he could figure out the DNA that was keeping Frankenstein alive and might be able to revive his son, but left Frankenstein in pieces and had left Red Robin to figure out how to put Frankenstein back together again. Frankenstein throws Batman to the ground, and Titus begins to bite Frankenstein's leg. Frankenstein says, "Maybe I should leave you the same way you objected me to. You tricked me and tried to isolate my life force. It took that Red Robin boy 27 straight hours to stitch me back together again, after turning my father's castle into a shooting gallery." Frankenstein picks Batman up again, and Batman says he allowed himself to be blinded by grief. "What do you want to hear me say, that I changed my mind about trying to resurrect my son? Well, I did. Now get your hands off me, Frankenstein." Frankenstein says, "I only want two things from you, Batman." And Batman replies, "What's that?" Frankenstein says, "An apology." The Dark Knight lowers his head and says, "I apologize." Frankenstein replies, "And tell your dog to quit chewing on my leg." Frankenstein sets Batman down, and the two of them look into the chasm of what used to be a large city. Frankenstein said there was a war here. The entire city is gone. A heated battle was fought and won, but it resulted in the spirits moving the entire city to another dimension. Frankenstein asks why Batman has come all the way to the Himalayas. Batman says that's a long story, and recounts the events of Damian's death, and then Ra's al Ghul stealing the bodies of his grandson and daughter Talia, and then placed them into some strange sarcophagus, and he's been tracking them for thousands of miles across various countries and locations to this spot. Batman said during the battle with Ra's, he fired a tranquilizer dart that had a small tracking device in it, that they should be able to track his location. The only problem is, it's only calibrated for 48 hours, and the lifespan is about ready to run out. They only have 6 hours left on the tracker, and they need to find him fast. Frankenstein says he assumes that Ra's wants to resurrect the bodies of his daughter and grandson. Batman tells Frankenstein yes, but he wants them to lead the newly formed League of Assassins. Frankenstein replies, "So why do you want your son back? For a proper burial?" Batman says no. "I want Damian to rest, so I can be at rest." Batman tells Titus to go to the plain, and begins to scale down the side of the mountain. Frankenstein follows Batman, and the two begin their search for Ra's al Ghul. At a nearby lair, Roz drops the Chaos Crystal into what looks like a Lazarus pit and begins to submerge one of the sarcophaguses slowly into the green liquid with the glowing Chaos Crystal. As Frankenstein and Batman begin to walk through the deep snow of the Himalayas, Yetis, or abominable snowmen as you might want to call them, begin to attack Batman and Frankenstein. As they begin to take them down one by one, Frankenstein notices that more are coming over the ridge. It's almost getting too much for Batman and Frankenstein to fight. It seems like when they knock out one, 3 or 4 more appear. Batman tells Frankenstein to drop his weapons and do what Batman does. Batman removes his gloves and raises his hands in a motion that says, "No more fighting. We are not your enemy. We come in peace." The Yetis lower their arms and their ice swords. Batman begins to draw on the ground of who and what they are looking for. Batman notices one of the Yetis has a mark on his arm from a sword. Batman points to the creature's arm and then the ground. It's a caricature of Ra's al Ghul, and then points back to the Yeti's arm. The Yeti nods. A new alliance is formed between Batman, Frankenstein, and the Yetis. Now the team go through a series of caverns and caves to an old run-down castle. The signal is getting stronger. As they begin to walk through one of the main doors in the castle, Frankenstein says, "Are we here?" A green light appears from inside of the castle wall. Batman says, "No, I'm too late." Inside the mountains of the Himalaya, Batman and Frankenstein are in a hidden city and can see Ra's al Ghul and the sarcophagus of Talia being raised from the green liquid. Roz says, "That's right, you're too late. You've come a long way to fail, detective, but I see you've brought some friends. As you can tell, so have I. So it seems that we are at a temporary stalemate." Batman says, "What have you done?" Roz says, "I have set Talia on her first steps forward towards the light." "Keeping your daughter locked in that sarcophagus," Batman replies. "This pit bestows distinctive gifts with distinctive rules," Ra's says. Batman reminds Roz what happened on Paradise Island in the pit, and we all know how that turned out. "You made a mistake," Batman finishes. Roz says, "Yes, every 100 years or so I tend to make a mistake or two." Batman replies, "Your biggest mistake was stealing Damien's body from me in the first place, Roz." "That's where you're wrong, detective. In exhuming my grandson, it was and is a necessity. I can think of no better revenge for all the pain that you have brought my family than forcing you to witness your own son and his mother standing completely under my control as I wipe the world clean and lay a new foundation for the Al Ghul legacy to build upon. See, it's this Lazarus pit here in the bellows of the Himalayas that I should come to harvest the first of the purest of all pits, even more powerful than the Well of Souls." Frankenstein says this area was ruled by black magic, with demons to come and curse the portals of hell, and this place was built over top of it to balance the good and evil. Roz says this was dormant, and all it required was someone to stir it with the right spoon. Batman says, "Which that's why you've been dragging that crystal halfway around the world with you." Roz tells Batman that the crystal was found by Talia during the construction of her island base a few years ago, and that she is solely responsible for not only the limitless energy the crystal produces, but also the stasis chamber it took to power Damien's growth. But it also generated an indefinite amount of power to initiate her cloning and harvesting program, and operated her base without any other renewable source of energy. This Lazarus pit also eradicates all memory and also reconstructs an inactive human body that has been dead for less than a year. As you know, other pits have never been able to achieve this. But this pit stipulates the lifeless body must be immersed and remain saturated and untouched for 24 hours if it's to rise again. So that's why, again, I tell you the sarcophagus must remain full and shut with the fluid so it can be followed by Damien shortly thereafter. Batman says you could be creating monsters, and then quickly turns to look at Frankenstein and says, "No offense." Frankenstein replies, "None taken." Roz tells Batman the inherent risks are worth everything. "Don't you agree, detective?" Batman can take no more of this and leaps at Roz and grabs Damien's sarcophagus. Roz releases his Man-Bat battalion, and an all-out battle inside the cavern begins to commence. Frankenstein steps down in front of Roz and begins to battle him himself. Frankenstein shouts, "Go get your boy. Get out of here. I'll be right behind you," as he fights off the Man-Bats, with Batman frantically trying to find his way out of the temple door, and using some explosives from his utility belt, a tremendous thud blows the stone doors off the column walls. Batman carries Damien's sarcophagus over his shoulder and heads towards the Batplane. Once at the Batplane, Batman places Damien's sarcophagus at the edge of the plane and opens the cockpit. Titus is there to greet Batman. Batman says, "We're going home, Titus." Batman turns to look up and see Frankenstein's body crashing on top of the roof of the Batplane. Standing behind him is an army of Man-Bats and Ra's al Ghul. Roz says, "So, if you think I'm going to stand by and watch you run off with my grandson, you are sadly mistaken. If it takes me forever, I will destroy all that stops the rebirth of the Al Ghul legacy." Roz says, "If forever is how long it takes, I will hunt down everyone Batman cares about. Pennyworth, your Bat disciples, Gotham. There will be blood, and not just on my hands, yours too, Batman." Batman quickly turns and says, "No, there won't, because if you try and take Damien's body again, I'm going to kill you and make sure that you never come back." Roz swings at Batman with the sword. Batman quickly ducks, and the two men begin to fight one another. Roz brings Batman to the ground, and just when he thinks he has the upper hand, Batman grabs Ra's ankle and breaks it. Batman flips up and grabs Roz by the shoulder and takes him down to the ground, and then jams both of his fingers into his eye sockets. And before he can begin to apply any pressure, a loud boom is heard and knocks both Ra's al Ghul and Batman to the ground. When Batman looks up, he sees a swarm of parademons and a man standing before him. "Salutations from Apocalypse. You may call me Glorious Godfrey." Glorious Godfrey and the parademon warriors of Darkseid stand on one side of the snow embankment. Batman, Frankenstein, Ra's al Ghul, and the Man-Bats stand on the other side, with the coffins of Talia and Damien laying in the middle. Godfrey says, "We have come for chaos." Batman replies, "What the hell are you talking about?" Godfrey exclaims, "He came for a small piece of the original Chaos Crystal, a shard that you have in your possession." Batman says, "Never heard of it." Godfrey exclaims, "It's a moniker you would probably be unfamiliar with. Let me describe it to you as a small crystallized object that was once large before it was shattered. Though not as powerful as the whole crystal, it can amplify energy like nothing else in the universe. It defies physics, and at times it said can be magical." Batman still maintains, "Haven't seen it." One of Godfrey's men says that the indicator says it's here. Godfrey says, "Initiate search." Batman leans down towards Roz and asks, "Where is it?" Roz says, "It's hidden in the sarcophagus I crafted for Damien." Godfrey says he knows. There's no doubt the Chaos Crystal is here if a signal is faint. His signature is coming from one of those caskets. "I suggest handing over the crystal right now, Batman, to avoid any bloodshed." Roz says, "You have me at a disadvantage. I don't know you, sir." "Glorious," Godfrey exclaims, "of Apocalypse, consider me a messenger for the Lord Darkseid, whom I believe your friend has met on a previous engagement." Batman says, "Are you referring to the Lord Master that my associates and I tossed back into the interdimensional doorway? If so, then yes. This man is not my friend. We are mortal enemies," Roz says. "But believe me when I tell you, we will fight as allies to stop you." Batman and Roz both race to the caskets containing the bodies of their son and daughter. "You're not taking the caskets anywhere," Batman says. Godfrey says, "Well, it seems like we are at an impasse." Batman replies, "Not from where I'm standing." Godfrey says, "Fine, we will kill you. All of you." Batman replies, "You will try." Godfrey looks at Batman and pauses. "Here, and I thought this would be a quick trip," and then screams, "For Darkseid!" With that simple command, the parademons attack Batman. Roz and his Man-Bats and Frankenstein and Titus emerge in a fierce battle. At one moment, Godfrey gets his hands on Batman. Batman quickly reaches into his utility belt and fires a device into Godfrey's face, blowing him clean off Batman's shoulders. Roz's man-bats begin to be dispatched at Darkseid's army, and one by one it seems like they are being destroyed, but the more they destroy, the more parademons seem to be generated. They are being overwhelmed. One of the parademons grabs Damian's casket. Batman asks Frankenstein for his sword. Batman cuts the arm off the parademon holding Damian's casket. Batman tosses Frankenstein's sword back to him, cutting through a couple parademons on the way back to Frankenstein as he catches it. Godfrey begins to send more parademons after the trio. Two of the parademons manage to grab Damian and Talia's coffins and fly off. Batman is able to leap from parademon to parademon and fight them off one by one, and grabs a hold of the parademon holding Damian's coffin, and they fight all the way to the ground. Ra's al Ghul also jumps on the back of one of the parademons flying away with Talia's coffin. He's able to overpower the parademon, and he jumps with Talia's coffin in his hands and plummets into a deep, snowy chasm. The parademon that Batman is riding on comes crashing to the ground. Batman looks up and sees Damian's coffin is partly opened. He grabs the Chaos Crystal and has a vivid memory of what Godfrey was talking about. He says he remembers the demon Kino. Younger versions, different versions of ourselves. A younger version of Superman that shattered a massive crystal. This is in reference from the Batman and Superman comic issues 1 through 5. Wait, something else. Damian saves us all? As Batman is starting to remember, an energy blasts right through him, knocking Batman to the ground. It's Godfrey. Godfrey stands over Batman and says only Lord Darkseid and his bloodline are allowed to make contact with the crystal. It seems there still may be a signature from the Chaos Crystal coming from inside that corpse. I will take the shard and the sarcophagus back with us too. Godfrey's guards pick up Batman, and Godfrey puts a gun to the back of Batman's head and says, I always keep my promise. See, I told you, I will kill you. And think of it as an honor, a glorious one. Godfrey's merciful face is the last face you'll... Just as Godfrey is about to finish his sentence, his trigger finger becomes frozen. It's Captain Cold and the rest of the Justice League. Wonder Woman, Lex Luthor, Cyborg, and Aquaman, and Shazam. Wonder Woman tells Godfrey, pull that trigger and you'll be the only one that has a last moment. Shazam swoops in and grabs Batman from Godfrey's clutches. More parademons begin to attack, but this time the Justice League are here. Shazam drops off Batman at a safe distance and quickly turns to go back to the fight. Aquaman calls in some killer whales as they break through the icy ground and take care of a batch of Godfrey's men. Lex Luthor and Wonder Woman also take out a few of Godfrey's men and parademons. Even Titus is getting in on the action and takes down a couple parademons and then goes to guard Damian's coffin. Godfrey tries to take it and Titus quickly barks at Godfrey. Then Godfrey quickly kicks Titus out of the way and grabs the coffin. Batman leaps to his feet, shoots his grappling gun to swing back in the action. Godfrey grabs Damian's coffin under his arm and activates a boom tube and a portal opens. I'm going to go back through, Batman says. Batman's line attaches to one of the parademons that's going back through, and Batman is being pulled in. Just as Batman is about to enter the portal door, Shazam flies in and grabs Batman, cutting the line that was holding the parademon. The door closes. It's too late. Batman is unable to go in, and more importantly, Damian's coffin is gone. Shazam stands behind Batman and says, how cool is that? I saved Batman's life twice today. In a fit of rage, Batman spins around and punches Shazam twice in the face, knocking him to the ground. Cyborg grabs Batman's shoulders and says, enough. Shazam says, I figured I was doing you a favor by not letting you get sucked in there. Batman yells at Shazam and says, they ran off with Damian's body. I was trying to catch them. Oh, Shazam says. Also, Ra's al Ghul and Talia's body is gone, and it looks like they killed Frankenstein as well. Wonder Woman tells Batman that they rushed in without assessing the situation. I'm sorry for what it cost you today. I know the hell you must be going through trying to recover Robin's body. Lex says, you called, we came in while you were in jeopardy. We acted quickly and decisively. Batman quickly turns around and punches Lex Luthor in the face, knocking him down to the icy ground, and tells Luthor to shut up. As Luthor is lying on the ground, he can see an image of Frankenstein below the icy surface. Cyborg activates his sonic boom cannon, cracks the ice, and they begin to pull Frankenstein up from the icy freeze. Frankenstein asks what happened to Roz. Batman says he was hit by the blast and fell into a chasm. Wonder Woman asks how deep the chasm was. Batman replies, probably not deep enough. Aquaman says, what made you think you were going to try and ride that cosmic train back to Apokolips alone? Was that a good idea? Batman replies, I discovered something, Arthur, that made me believe I think I could bring Robin back to life, and I need to get to Apokolips to do it. Wonder Woman asks why. These creatures transported themselves across time and space to our planet again, and zeroed in on you specifically. Batman tells them there's something called the Chaos Crystal. It's a small piece of a larger crystal that may have been broken and that belonged to Darkseid. Shazam asks, what is it? Batman says, I'm not sure exactly, but Ra's had it. It was something that was hidden in Robin's sarcophagus when they boomed in. Cyborg says that's still a long way from understanding after running into them a few years back, and getting mixed up in this isn't a good idea. Captain Cold says, I agree, we can't pull off a mission to another planet for one person. He wasn't dead from what I heard. We did it for Superman, Batman replies. There's nothing left to discuss. I'm not asking for permission, Batman says. I'm going to Apokolips and bringing back Robin alive. Batman stands in front of the Justice League and says, anyone have something to say? Step up and tell me why I can't go to Apokolips. Aquaman looks at Batman and says, it's because we're the front line. Batman, you know that better than anyone. We can't go off planet on a personal mission no matter how much we want to. Our responsibilities are to the people of Earth and below. Batman begins to explain to Aquaman and the rest of the Justice League that these Apokolips shock troopers have made a second insertion into our world in the last 5 years, and the Justice League is deluded if they think that Darkseid is not planning something bigger. Luthor explains this isn't about Apokolips, it's about Robin, plain and simple. Batman looks away from Luthor and says, it's about both. Cyborg explains to Batman, you must have told us 1,000 times, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Darkseid and Apokolips are the big X factor, and we don't know enough. It's too soon. We don't know enough to be prepared. Cyborg tries to reassure Batman by putting his hands on Batman's shoulders, and Cyborg is electronically shocked from Batman's suit. And then Batman activates a button on his utility belt and disappears. Batman has transported himself out of the area, and has also managed to shut down the rest of the Justice League transporters. Captain Cold says, Batman seems to be playing by his own rules. Luthor just smiles and says, yes, Cold, and it's invigorating, isn't it? Shazam tries to fly off and head to the Watchtower after Batman. Wonder Woman catches Shazam and says, this is a club fight. We do it together. Frankenstein turns to lead the group, and Cyborg asks, where are you going, Frankenstein? Frankenstein turns away and says, anywhere but here. In the Justice League Watchtower, Batman is the only member and begins to walk through the halls of the Justice League to a chamber of the Watchtower. A computer voice says,
Vault BH-100, Level 1 security, clearance override recognition activated. Please clarify.
Batman, the Justice League computer responds,
Batman, Justice League recognized.
The series of doors open up to reveal the Hellbat suit.
Access granted.
Initiate protocol.
Initiating protocol.
The computer voice says.
Access denied.
Batman says. Override code activated. Batman turns around to see the rest of the Justice League standing behind him. Batman says calmly, so, getting in my way was your only option. Aquaman states again that you can't run to some off-world planet and try and play God. Batman points a finger at the rest of the Justice League and says, why not? We all play God out there every day, Arthur. Daughter of a god happens to be standing right next to you. And we don't even know how a 15-year-old boy, thanks to a wizard, transformed himself into a man with powers that can fly and call down lightning. So I don't give a damn about your opinion when there's a possibility of bringing Robin back to life, Batman says angrily. How many times do we have to say there are ramifications for getting Darkseid's attention? They could simply just happen if we're not ready, Batman, Aquaman states. We've already got his attention, Batman says, and they've got Robin. What if this was Mira? Would we even be having this discussion? Batman says. That's not fair, Aquaman replies. Batman states, exactly. I conceived and designed this suit for a singular purpose, to go toe-to-toe with the largest scale threat for extreme battle scenarios. Wonder Woman tells Batman that this suit was a team project built from start to finish by each member of the Justice League and help in creating the Hellbat suit for you. Superman helped forge this suit in the sun. Green Lantern and Cyborg and Aquaman and Wonder Woman herself each had a part in the construction of the suit for Batman. And it keeps Batman safe, but only in the hands that are in line with the Justice League protocols. Batman tells Cyborg to override the code so he can get the Hellbat suit. Cyborg tells Batman, "No way. I'm sorry. I can't." Captain Cold puts a gun up to Batman's head. Batman calmly says, "Do you really think putting a gun up to my head is a good idea?" As Cold turns his head and gets ready to fire his gun, Batman grabs his gun and points it at Cyborg. Cyborg falls to the ground. The rest of the Justice League members gain control of Batman. He quickly raises his hand and says, "Get off me. I'm done." Aquaman surprisingly says, "You're standing down?" Batman replies, "I'm tired." The Justice League let go of Batman, and Batman walks away. On Apokolips, Godfrey is walking through Darkseid's lair, talking about his most recent adventure on Earth and bringing his trophies back to Kalibak, Darkseid's son. The singularity of the crystal that's inside the sarcophagus I felt would be prudent to bring it back with us, and retrieval of the Chaos Crystal itself, so I deem the mission a success. Godfrey says, "They are only here to obey." Kalibak says, "Good. The Chaos Crystal is all I need to gain the power back." Kalibak picks up Damian's coffin and stares at it, knowing that the Chaos Crystal is inside. At Wayne Manor, Bruce is standing in front of the empty graves of Talia and Damian with a shovel in his hand, thinking, and starts to fill in the hole that once held the body of his son. In a fit of rage, he takes a shovel and swings it at the tombstone, knocking it over and smashing it into pieces. Bruce lands on his knees and then says out loud, "What do you want, Clark?" Superman is hovering over Bruce and says, "Diana told me what happened, Bruce." "I'm sure she did," Bruce replies. "If you're here for an apology, forget it." "Bruce, I didn't come for an apology," Superman says. Bruce says, "If it's about the damage to the headquarters, I'll cut you a check." Superman says, "Shut up, Bruce, for a second. I'm here at Damian and Talia's grave, and I want to apologize for the way things have spun out of control. If there's a way we could—" Bruce stops Superman. "You weren't. And if you wouldn't mind landing, my neck hurts." Superman lands on the ground and walks over to Bruce. "Is that better?" Bruce tells Superman that he lashed out. A man has to know his limitations. He must be crazy to think he can go to Apokolips and fight Darkseid on his own. Superman says, "I imagine a grieving father must seem crazy at times." Superman says, "I know you're not going to, but if you need anything, please give me a shout." Superman flies off into the night sky. Once Superman is out of sight, Bruce puts down the shovel and heads towards Wayne Manor. Through the grandfather clock, down the flight of stairs with Titus right behind him. He suits up in his Batman costume, and there waiting at the bottom of the step is Red Robin, Batgirl, Red Hood, and Alfred. Batman says, "Good, I'm glad you're all here. Let's get to it." At the bottom of the Batcave are Red Robin, Alfred, Red Hood, and Batgirl, standing with Bruce in his Batman costume. They are standing at the bottom of the steps with a scowl on their faces. Bruce says the last time we were here in this cave, it was because the Joker wanted it that way. Tonight, it's because I want it that way. There's a reason I need you here. Batgirl says, "And waiting to be buried alive?" Red Hood interjects, "As long as it doesn't involve me staring at a bloodied, severed face on a plate again, I'm good." Alfred tries to defend Bruce's actions from the Joker. Bruce puts a reassuring hand on Alfred's shoulder and says, "Alfred, you don't have to defend me. They have every right to still be angry over what happened with the Joker. Our secret identities is one thing that lets us lead a normal life, and they were almost compromised by a twisted clown because of something I kept from you, something I should have told all of you once I found the Joker card in the lower level of the Batcave. But I wanted this to be a completely new start because we've been broken long enough. From here on out, good or bad, the truth rules." "That is until another situation pops up and justifies you going dark on us more ways than one," Batgirl says. "Like Frankenstein being dissected," Red Robin interjects. Red Hood, with his arms crossed, says, "And bringing me to the Middle East on a trip to reminisce me about the good old days of crowbars and explosions." Bruce says, "I promise that nothing gets held back. We speak our minds no matter the cost, and we keep strong through unconditional truth," Batgirl interrupts. Red Hood replies, "Unconditional truth, now and forever, Bruce. Otherwise, this is all a load of crap." Bruce reassures them and tells them that they will all work together. He will still be tough on them to get the job done, but most of all, he'll be toughest on himself. Are we good? Batgirl, Red Robin, and Red Hood look at each other and take off their masks and say, "Yes, we're good." Batman replies, "That's good to hear. We have work to do." Tim says, "Having us over to apologize, couldn't that have been done over the phone? You could have just called." Bruce says, "It's only phase 1, Tim." "Phase 2, Batgirl replies. Like I said, no more secrets. Batman shows them the mother box. Barbara asks, what does it do? Batman says it opens a portal, a doorway to another world. Bruce says it's a portal, a doorway to another world. Is that where the crime syndicate came from? Tim asks. No, Bruce replied. It's some place called Apocalypse. I want to pay a visit there. Jason asks where he got it from. Bruce walks the group over to a compartment near the vault, puts in a code, pulls up the upper chamber, and shows the upper half of a parademon. I got it from one of these. Titus quickly barks at the beast. Bruce pets Titus and says, it's all right, boy. He won't hurt you anymore. Bruce begins to tell them the series of events that happened while trying to track down Damien's body in his battle with Ra's al Ghul and fighting off Glorious Godfrey and the parademons. After Bruce completes telling them the events and that there's a chance to bring Damien back to life, it's at this point each of the members of the Bat family put on their masks and say, okay, let's go. Let's rock and roll. Red Robin says, when do we leave? Batman says, whoa, you don't. Batgirl shockingly says, what are you talking about? Batman says, you're staying here. Red Hood exclaims, Justice League buddies turned you down. We're coming with you. Red Robin says, you're not going alone. Bruce says what he's doing is dangerous, and more likely it's a suicide mission, Tim. Red Robin says, it's our decision, not yours, Bruce. This isn't a democracy when it comes to the mission, Batman tells them. Bruce tells them that them putting their lives on the line to bring back Damien means more to them than they can know, but I simply can't and won't risk losing any more of you for this. Tonight was about letting you know how much I care and respect all of you. Let us help you, Red Robin says. Barbara says, we need to do this with you. Bruce says, what I need you to do is keep the people of Gotham safe. Whether I make it back or not, the future of the city lies in your hands. Aside from Jim Gordon, you're the only people I completely trust, and I'm glad I've had this chance to make things right between us. Red Hood says, that's it? Batman walks them to their motorcycles and says, that's it. The whole truth and nothing but the truth, Jason. If you don't hear from me, you'll hear from Alfred. So get out there. Gotham needs you. Batman watches the team roll out of the Batcave on their motorcycles. As the last member of the Bat family drives out of the Batcave, Batman says, I heard your stomach growl. Do you want a sandwich? From above Batman is Dick Grayson, Agent Grayson, and says, sure, Spiral Cafeteria sucks. Dick Grayson jumps down and begins to pet Titus. Dick says, I imagine there's no talking you out of this, Bruce. Bruce says, nope, no changing what was, but I've learned I'm damn well going to try changing what will be. As Damien's father, I owe him that much. Dick says, you know how much Damien meant to me, Bruce. Just say the word and I'm at your side on Apocalypse till the bitter end. Bruce says, I know, Dick, but I need you to make me a promise. Dick pauses. About the cape and cowl? You wore it before, Bruce states. Dick replies, if you want me to wear it again, I will. There will always be a Batman in Gotham City, Bruce. Batman asks Dick for a favor. I want you to send a signal using your spiral contacts to create some type of distraction that gets the attention of certain individuals in 4 different parts of the world. It will summon Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Shazam, each of the members of the Justice League. It will summon Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Shazam, and it will send the members of the Justice League on a wild goose chase, chasing holograms of Black Manta, Cheetah, and the Grid, and Black Adam. The Justice League members will be led on a wild goose chase, thanks to the help of Grayson. Lex Luthor is monitoring the activities and realizes what's going on. He and Cold are the only 2 left in the Watchtower. Batman has come back. Lex leaps from the computer and heads down the corridor to find Captain Cold strung up from the ceiling from one of Batman's lines and races to the Hellbat suit. Batman has beat Lex there and is now in the Hellbat suit. Batman says, don't try and stop me. Luthor says, stop you? I've decided to help you. Batman says, you're going to try and stall me until the other members of the Justice League arrive. Luthor tells Batman that he's read a lot about Darkseid, and if you're going to do this, you're going to have to do it right. Batman asks why he should trust Lex. Luthor says because the 2 of them are the same, 2 incredibly rich boys playing dress-up amongst gods. Besides, Darkseid could be our problem. Luthor taps into Batman's Hellbat suit, and Batman asks what Luthor is doing. Luthor says he's increasing the liquid coolant inside the strength bolstering in the telepathic link wave throughout the suit. Also, Cyborg placed a tracking device on the suit the other day, Luthor said, and removed it. Luthor asks Bruce if he realizes the danger his suit poses to him, and Batman says of course that he has, and that means there's still a few kinks he can work out on the flight to Apocalypse. Batman pulls out the boom tube activator and initiates the boom tube and disappears into the boom tube just as the rest of the Justice League members arrive too late. Moments later, Batman finds himself on the fiery planet of Apokolips. On Apokolips, Batman flies across the flaming, burning landscape of Apokolips, racing to find some indication of where Damian is. Initiate protocol cloaking.
Cloaking initiated in 3 seconds.
Once the computer says that, Batman is looking for one thing, a parademon that will lead him to Darkseid's location. On Apokolips, Darkseid's warriors are beating the last insurgents that was good on the planet now that Darkseid completely rules it. As the parademons are threatening the life forms of the planet, Batman in the Hellbat suit grabs one of them by the neck and asks where Godfrey is. One of them points to a structure off in the distance. Batman then smashes him in the face and flies off. As Batman flies off, he begins to suffer some problems from inside the suit. Retract left gauntlet. Once it retracts, we can see the charred markings on his arm. The suit is having some effect on Batman. Back in the Batcave, Alfred is tending to Damian's animals, Bat-Cow, Titus, and Damian's cat, appropriately named Alfred. Alfred says, "I applaud your stealth, but more for your change of heart." "How did you know we would come back?" a voice says. Alfred turns around to see Red Hood, Batgirl, and Red Robin. "Because we're family," Alfred says. "We're not letting Batman do this alone," Batgirl says. "Of course not. We've got one problem, though. Batman took the only mother box he modified. No boom tube, no Apokolips," Red Hood states. Red Robin sets the Batcave computer and says, "Actually, there's a person that we can hitch a ride with. Victor Stone, a.k.a. Cyborg. He has the ability to create a boom tube." Alfred says Master Bruce said he was quite adamant that he had no intentions of stepping in to help up at this juncture. Red Hood says, "Well, we make him an offer he can't refuse." Red Robin says, "Really? Seriously? Stone's a member of the Justice League, a powerful guy. He could take us all out." "Really?" Jason says. "Since when has that stopped us before? We track him down, we upload the coordinates somehow into Cyborg's mother box thing, ping, pang, boom, hello, Apokolips." "Nothing is that simple," Batgirl says. "Everything is that simple before we do it," Jason replies. "Just how the hell do we get Cyborg to follow along?" Batgirl states. Alfred leads the young team into a room. "I might be able to assist in this department." Alfred says before we proceed any further, we must maintain Gotham's security. "So I will contact Batwing while you reach out to Batwoman." Alfred holds a box that Batman had prepared just in case members of the Justice League go rogue. Alfred is holding a Cyborg box that would be able to control Cyborg. In the middle of Gotham City, Batwoman is fighting off the last of her attackers. Once she is done, she turns around to see Batgirl, Red Robin, and Red Hood behind her. The three of them tell Batwoman that they're going to be going away and they don't know if they're going to be coming back, and that Batwoman and Batwing are the only two left to defend Gotham. They can't say for sure where they're going, but they need her to know that she is Gotham City's last defense, and give her a communicator link to a friend of theirs to keep her plugged into all points of Gotham City. Red Hood, Red Robin, and Batgirl take off, leaving Batwoman in Gotham City alone. Back on Apokolips, Kalibak is wanting to do everything he can to please his father. He knows how important the rule of his father is on Apokolips, and being able to get a piece of the Chaos Crystal back is going to put Kalibak in good graces with his father, and he won't rest until his father can open his eyes again. All he wants to do is be stronger and be the absolute ruler of Apokolips and the universe. Back in the Batcave, Cyborg is with the rest of the Bat family, asking what the problem is. Batgirl states that they're having trouble with Batman, and Cyborg says that's not surprising because the Justice League has been having problems of their own with Batman as well. They say they've been having problems in their own neck of the woods since Batman has left, and maybe Cyborg can plug into the mainframe so they can get a better look at the criminals running loose in Gotham City. And there's been no word from Batman since he left for Apokolips. Red Robin leads Cyborg over to a table and tells Cyborg that it will help him link into the system. Once Cyborg is plugged in, a switch is flipped, and the Bat family now have complete control of Cyborg. Red Robin begins to work on Cyborg and starts accessing the boom tube technology that they'll use to go to Apokolips. This is the same table that was used for the virtual reality by Bruce when he was trying to figure out a few months ago if there was something he could have done to save Damian's life. Red Hood asked once they get into Cyborg's boom tube, how are they going to get to Batman's location? Alfred tells them that Bruce worked on the mother box and he had greatly increased the odds to be able to pinpoint the location on Mother Box. The odds are approximately 20-1. Jason says, "Never tell me the odds." Batgirl says, "Put a sock in it, Han Solo." Alfred walks the three over to a uniform closet and says that he took the liberty of retrofitting some of Damien's suits for extra protection. I'm afraid they don't come close to the Hellbat suit. Red Robin says, "We appreciate the sentiment, Alfred. Let's suit up." Alfred hands each of them a suit specifically designed for each of them. "So what do you think?" Red Robin says. "I think all that's left are these." Alfred hands Robin insignias to each of them. They are now dressed in the colors of Robin and place the Robin insignias on their chest. Standing before Alfred are Red Robin Robin, Batgirl Robin, Red Hood Robin. A few minor adjustments, Batgirl makes a cyborg, and suddenly the boom tube opens up in the Batcave. Red Robin, Batgirl, and Red Hood dive into the boom tube. Red Robin says, "All right, no time like the present. Let's go." "Stay safe," Alfred says. "See you soon." Cyborg begins to wake up and says, "What the hell happened? What's going on here?" Cyborg jumps off the table and dives into the boom tube after the team. Titus is right behind him, and he and Titus disappear into the boom tube, leaving Alfred alone in the Batcave. Back on Apokolips, Batman is making his way through one of the strongholds where Glorious Godfrey is and starts taking out the members of Godfrey's team. Batman makes his way to Godfrey's stronghold. Godfrey comments on Batman's new attire, but he wore something more appropriate since their last encounter. Godfrey exclaims, "You killed all of my men." Batman says they're not dead. They just can't stand or fight anymore. Batman grabs Godfrey and dives out the window with Godfrey and says, "Take me to my son and the Chaos Crystal. Now." Moments later, on the other side of Apokolips, the boom tube opens up, and out jumps Red Hood, Batgirl, and Red Robin in their new updated Robin costumes. Seconds later, Cyborg and Titus jump in behind them. "Holy crap," Red Hood says. Red Robin tries to explain to Cyborg what happened, and Cyborg says, "Well, I'm here. Let's skip the finger pointing and let's get on to saving Batman." Inside Kalibak's chamber, Kalibak removes the Chaos Crystal from Damien's coffin and places it in the Chaos Cannon along with Damien. He locks onto a target and fires it at a planet just beyond the reach of Apokolips, and the planet explodes. On one side of Apokolips is Batman. On the other side are Red Robin, Cyborg, Batgirl, and Red Hood, and all watch as the nearby planet explodes. Batman is holding Godfrey and states, "Kalibak, who the hell is Kalibak? Where is my son?" Godfrey tells Batman that Kalibak is the cruel son of Darkseid, and he did it with the special weapon that your son's body, along with the Chaos Crystal and other distinctive items that help them energize the Chaos Cannon into its full potential. Batman says he turned my son's body into a gun. "A chaos gun," Godfrey says. "That cannon can consume and transfer a life force from any planet and fire to help it nurse Apokolips back to health." Batman throws Godfrey to the ground and says, "Go be gloriously unconscious," and begins to take off towards the area where the cannon was fired. The computer inside the Batsuit begins to speak.
"Vital signs in blue alien bacteria detected."
Batman says, "Identify."
"Unknown."
The computer says. "Status," Batman repeat. The computer begins to tell Batman that
"Energy consumption is being rapidly depleted, and that life support systems are slowly beginning to fade."
Batman tells the computer to shut down audio monitoring systems. Not far from Batman's location are Red Hood, Batgirl, Red Robin, Titus, and Cyborg. They're all surrounded by followers of Darkseid. The boom tube managed to land them right in the middle of an area that they did not want to be in, and they don't like it. They're strangers in a strange area, in strange-looking clothing, and they can tell that they need to stay back, because these people are hungry and getting hungrier. Better to eat strangers than family, and they begin to attack the quartet. Red Robin tells Red Hood to give them some breathing room. Red Hood brings out his pistols and begins to take down the would-be attackers. "Here comes a whole wave of them, Red Robin," Cyborg says. "Get behind me." Cyborg activates its sonic pulse cannon and knocks the whole army of them down. The quartet and Titus leave the area. Inside Kalibak's fortress, he's waiting to target the Chaos Cannon again on another planet. One of Kalibak's soldiers tell him that there's a life force shift on Apokolips. There's an intruder headed in their direction, and maybe they should contact Darkseid for further assistance. Kalibak fires at one of them and says to not question him, and barks at them to not interrupt him, and tells them to roll out whatever they need to deal with this situation. Since I'm sure the troops are under command, they can deal with this lone worm. The worm Kalibak is speaking of is Batman himself, and he's approaching rapidly. Flying along the scorched landscape of Apokolips, Batman can see a dome structure that fired at one of the planets. It has to be where Damien's body and the Chaos Crystal being kept and used as a cannon. At the base of the steps of the fortress, an entire army of parademons are set out to attack Batman. The leader of the army asks whoever you are, prepare to be intercepted. Batman states, "You want to know who I am? I'm Batman." Batman manages to take out a few, but not before laser-enhanced ropes tie Batman down to the ground, and he's being seized and taken back to Kalibak. Batman breaks his bonds and begins to use the power of the Hellbat suit and begins to go ballistic on the parademons. Just then, Cyborg, Red Hood, and Red Robin and Batgirl come into view. Cyborg says, "I guess finding him wasn't too difficult after all." Batgirl approaches Batman and holds out an R insignia in front of Batman's face and says, "Batman, enough. You're here in this hellish place for your son, Bruce, and we're here for you." Red Hood states, "Show them some mercy." "We do what we do," Batgirl says. "Together," Red Robin finishes. "Damn it," Batman says. "Gotham City was depending on all of you. I trusted you." Batman pauses and says, "I'm sure you have the city in good hands. I see you had a change of heart, Cyborg." Cyborg says, something like that. "No time to explain. A lot of things need to go right for this to work. One is getting Darkseid's attention." "That's what all of us is for," Red Robin says. "Everything I'm doing is strategic. I want his eyes on me. I need to be face to face with him to bring Damian back." The cannon is getting ready to fire on another planet. It's charging, so Batman, Cyborg, and Team Robin and Titus head towards the top of the tower. Batman says, "By the way, I like your uniforms." "Thanks, it was my idea," Red Hood says. "No, it wasn't," replies Batgirl. Batman says, "Let's go get Damian." The team arrive at the top of the tower to see Kalibak, and each of the members of the Bat family break off in different areas to distract Kalibak. Batman lands first and punches Kalibak in the face, saying, "Where is my son?" Red Robin shouts, "Titus has found him. Damian is here." Cyborg is at the base of the cannon and is able to hack into the system. Kalibak lunges at Batman and tells him that he will paint the chamber with his innards. Batman is able to get the upper hand and knocks Kalibak to the ground. Cyborg tries to tap into the mainframe of Kalibak's computer, and the system instantly shocks Cyborg, and Cyborg lands to the ground. From the darkness, a figure appears behind Batman, and Batman states, "It's about time you showed up." Darkseid stands in front of Batman.
I'm so happy to see you again, Batman. The scars you left me only made me more resolute.
Batman says, "I came a long way to see you, Darkseid," as Batman is standing over the unconscious body of Darkseid's son, Kalibak. With Titus at his side and the rest of the Bat family and Cyborg behind him, Darkseid tells Batman that he came a long way to die, and he will take great pleasure in making sure that he suffers the wounds that the Earthlings inflicted on him. Kalibak slowly begins to wake and starts towards Batman. Batman says, "I could give a damn about you and your wounds. You attacked our planet." Kalibak leaps to his feet and lunges at Batman, but Batman quickly pulls out the boom tube activator, and Kalibak falls into the boom tube and disappears, and says, "Let's get rid of the distractions." Kalibak finds himself in the middle of the cannibals on Apocalypse. Darkseid reaches out and grabs Batman's hand and smashes the boom tube.
"You won't be using the mother box to escape me,"
Darkseid says. Batman says, "Don't worry, I have no intentions of going anywhere just yet," and delivers a punch to Darkseid's jaw. As Batman and Darkseid fight, the members of the Bat family have their own battle. Red Robin and Red Hood and Titus take on the parademons that are coming from inside the temple and begin to flood the streets below, but Cyborg is unable to move or walk and is lying on the ground from the shock from the system. Cyborg's circuits are nearly fried, and Batgirl is quickly trying to repair the damage the Cyborg had taken from the system, so she can activate the boom tube so they can all have a chance to escape. Darkseid picks up Batman and throws him towards the sarcophagus and Chaos Crystal, shattering the case that was holding them. The sarcophagus carrying Damian and the Chaos Crystal begin to fall towards the fiery pits of Apocalypse. Batman leaps from the top of the tower and flies down below, just barely grabbing Damian and the Chaos Crystal before they reach the fiery pits. Batman opens up a channel to Cyborg and says, "Open the boom tube, I have one last thing to do." But before Batman can finish his sentence, Darkseid leaps on top of Batman and smashes him to the ground. Batman drops the coffin and the Chaos Crystal. Batgirl hurriedly tries to repair Cyborg's boom tube technology, while Red Hood and Red Robin and Titus fight off the outnumbering swarm of parademons. Just a few feet away, Darkseid picks up the shard of the Chaos Crystal and grabs the coffin holding Damian standing on top of Batman and rips off Batman's bat wings on the Hellbat suit. He can now see Batman's exposed back and that he made a mistake touching the shard at some point without proper protection.
"Then what is your need to acquire this corpse?"
Batgirl tells Cyborg that the circuitry is fried and she's not sure if she can fix it. Cyborg looks at Batgirl and says, "Look at me, Batgirl. I can talk you through it. You can do this." Darkseid begins to put pressure on Batman's head and says,
Why do Earthlings continue to delude yourselves into thinking you're gods when we clearly exist?
The Hellbat suit begins to speak.
Emergency voice override. Unchecked server pressure coupled with unknown pathogen affecting results. Immediate breach of metabolic consumption.
Darkseid tells Batman,
What horrors did this sliver show you? Why would you risk unmanageable horrors to your body and soul at my hands?
"Tch," Batman says. "Unimaginable horrors have not been left to my imagination," Batman states. Batman activates the reserve power of the Hellbat suit and knocks Darkseid off his feet. But before he lands, he grabs Batman and uses his momentum to throw Batman to the ground. Seconds later, a loud boom is heard. Batgirl was able to repair the Cyborg's boom tube technology and the portal opens. Darkseid turns to Batman and says,
Your companions are in the process of abandoning you.
While Batman is on the ground, he begins to taunt Darkseid. "Well, what are you waiting for? Do it! Kill me, you ugly son of a bitch!"
With pleasure.
Darkseid says. Darkseid's eyes light up. The Omega beams begin to fire from his eyes. As they do, he says,
Say goodbye, Earthling scum.
Batman manages to pull the Chaos Crystal from the ground after Darkseid dropped it, and he holds it in the air. Instead of the Omega beams striking Batman, they begin to be absorbed into the crystal. Darkseid is shocked by this and exclaims,
The Omega Beam should have destroyed you. Instead, they were attracted to the Chaos Crystal like a magnet.
Now the Chaos Crystal is glowing in Batman's hands and says, "I got what I came for. Hellbat suit, deliver all power to the chest portal." The suit begins to tell Batman,
The result will drain the majority of the Hellbat suit.
Batman says, "Shut the hell up and fire, damn it!" From the center of the bat emblem, a bright red flare is shot out in a gigantic shockwave, knocking Darkseid to the ground, leaving an impression of the bat symbol behind Darkseid's body. Darkseid falls to the ground. The suit begins to tell Batman,
Suit integrity compromised and alien substance has fused in front of the Hellbat suit, magnifying power core.
Darkseid comes to his feet and Calabac finally makes his way back to the castle. "They're getting away," Calabac says.
Leave them for now. We will see them soon enough.
Darkseid says. "No, their blood needs to be spilled, Father." The boom tube opens up. Batman glides by with the newly attached wings on the Hellbat suit, swoops down, grabs Damian's coffin and says, "All of you, go, now." Batgirl, Titus, Red Hood, and Red Robin, carrying Cyborg, jump through the boom tube. Seconds later, the boom tube opens up in the Batcave. "Alfred, we're home," Batman says. The Hellbat suit begins speaking.
Vital signs failing. Alien substance fused to the front of the Hellbat suit. Suit magnifying power core consumption to implode. 3 minutes, 50 seconds.
Right behind Batman are Red Hood, Batgirl, Titus, and Red Robin carrying Cyborg, who's still unable to move from the shock he received on Apocalypse. As Batman lands with Damian's coffin, he orders everybody to stand back.
Vital signs approaching danger level.
The computer states,
Consumption and implosion. 3 minutes, 42 seconds.
"Eject helmet," Batman says. Batman's face is starting to look that more of Darkseid as the infection is spreading. Batman begins to jettison parts of the Hellbat suit that are contaminated. Batman frantically tries to unlock Damian's coffin that Ra's al Ghul had designed and is trying to find the mechanism to open the coffin that Damian has been sealed in.
Consumption, implosion. 3 minutes, 39 seconds.
"Eject gloves," Bruce says. Batgirl yells at Batman, "Get out of the suit." "No," Batman says. "Not until Damian's back,"
Vital signs deteriorating.
the Hellbat suit says. Batman had placed the Chaos Crystal in the center of the Hellbat suit as they were traveling, and now the crystal is causing the contamination. Batman screams out in pain as he removes the crystal, and he's holding it in both of his bare hands.
Consumption and implosion in 2 minutes, 59 seconds.
Now Batman's gloves are off, and he's holding the crystal in both hands and coming into direct contact with the crystal, and it's making him see visions of his own parents that were murdered and his son being murdered, and he has the ability to choose one or the other. "No, no, don't," Batman says. "Don't make me choose." Batman screams out, "The Omega sanctioned the death that time. This time, truly life." Batman slams a shard down through the sarcophagus, down into Damian's body. A large shock wave occurs, blowing everybody off their feet and onto the ground. The coffin that Ra's designed breaks in two and begins to be absorbed into Damian's body. Damian's color begins to change, and the dead, lifeless body of his son now begins to show life. Bruce holds his son's body in his arms, and Damian slowly opens his eyes and reaches his hands up towards his father's face and speaks, "Father?" Damian rises from the ground and hugs his father. Red Hood, Batgirl, Alfred, and even Titus all looked shocked and amazed. Damian Wayne is alive. Oh my God, Batgirl states. He really did it. Cyborg is laying on the ground and says, I can't turn my head. What's happening? Simultaneously, Red Hood and Red Robin look at each other and say, holy crap. Damian kneels down to his father and says, the heretic sword. He killed me. Is this a dream? Bruce places his hand on Damian's shoulders and says, no, you're wide awake. You're alive. You're here with me, and I'm with you. I got you back, boy. Batman falls to the ground unconscious. Damian stands over his father's body and screams, Father! Damian and the Bat family rush to Bruce's side. Damian asks Pennyworth what's wrong with him. Alfred states, his pulse is steady, thank God. There's no time to explain, Alfred says. I can't put into words what this means to have you back with us again, Master Damian. But I must insist that you get Master Bruce to safety and temporarily postpone this family reunion. The Bat computer says,
Second emergency, anomaly detected.
Damian says, whatever's happening is because of me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying by his side. Of course you are, Alfred tells Damian.
Repeat, secondary energy detected.
The computer says. Gentlemen, Alfred says, I would appreciate it if you could shut off that damn portal. We can't, says Red Robin. Alfred asks Cyborg about the computer system, and Cyborg says he's still working on them. In the excitement, Damian looks down on his hand, and the batarang he had pulled from his father's utility belt, it's crushed in his own hand. What does this mean, Father? I crushed the batarang. Just as Bruce starts to wake up. Quick, firing line, Alfred says, in front of the portal. Protect Master Damian. Status report, Bruce says, as he puts back on the Batman cowl. His systems are out of commission. Can't close the boom tube, Batgirl says. Give me a time frame, Stone. Cyborg tells Batman he's working on it. It's good to see you, too. Welcome back to the party. Good to have you among the living, Red Hood says to Damian. Alfred asks what's coming through the portal, Red Robin. Nothing good, Red Robin tells Alfred. Whatever it is, we go down fighting together, Damian states. Batman says the only thing going down is whatever's coming through that door. Each of them has Bat Disruptor rifles in their hands. At that moment, Kalibak jumps into the Bat Cave from the boom tube and screams, Give me the bat! You invaded Apokolips, destroyed what I built with my own hands, and made me look like a fool in front of my father. With Kalibak's deadly axe swinging at the Bat family, he activates one of his sonic sticks and knocks the Bat family to the ground. Kalibak stands over Batman and says, You led them clad in black and red, an insolent dog who dared strike a god. Batman says if I had the chance, Kalibak, I would do it again. Kalibak tries to take a swing at Batman. Damian leaps in front of Batman from out of nowhere, and Kalibak catches Damian with his axe, knocking Damian the clear length of the Batcave and slams into the wall. And Batman is also flung to the other side of the cave, but he manages to land in the deep waters of the Batcave and begins to sink to the bottom. Kalibak turns and says, Who's next? The Bat family stand ready and switch their sonic rifles on and say, We are, and begin to shoot their flamethrowers at Kalibak. Burn, you son of a bitch, Red Hood yells. Cyborg frantically tries to repair his circuitry to close the boom tube. As Batman starts to sink in the deep pool waters of the Batcave, a figure reaches towards him. It's a hand. The hand pulls him out of the water. It's Damian. He doesn't understand how his son is not hurt, not even a scratch. And then in a flash, Damian leaves his father's side and heads towards the fight. The Bat family is seriously outnumbered by Kalibak's firepower. Alfred, Batgirl, Red Robin, and Red Hood all lay on the ground after being taken down from Kalibak's sonic weapon. Kalibak stands over the unconscious bodies of the heroes. I will hang your heads on the wall of my father's throne and show him that no one escapes the wrath of... And before he can finish the sentence, Damian literally flies across the room and punching Kalibak, knocking a tooth out of his mouth and screams, Stay away from them! And while hovering in mid-air, Damian picks up Kalibak and slams him to the ground, and then with lightning-fast speed begins to punch Kalibak over and over and over again. I don't really care who you are or where you came from, but you don't belong here. Kalibak swings a deadly, sharp edge of his blade against Damian and sends Damian flying into the Batmobile. You dare lay your hands on the son of Darkseid? Are all of you that stupid to stand against me? Just as Kalibak says that, the Batmobile comes crashing down on top of Kalibak. It's Damian. He's picked up the car and slams it into Kalibak like he's using a baseball bat and begins to beat Kalibak repeatedly over and over again with the Batmobile, slamming Kalibak back and forth across the length of the Batcave. Kalibak is able to get a hold of Damian and throws him across the Batcave into the giant Lincoln Head penny and has Damian pinned down. On the ground, Cyborg is able to repair the comlink to Batman and ask where he is. Kalibak is getting ready to use his sonic blast on Damian and tells him to embrace his doom. Titus jumps up and bites Kalibak in the mouth and drags him to the ground. Kalibak comes to his feet, and in front of him is Damian's Bat Cow, who simply delivers one sound: moo. You distracting, defecating hunk of meat, consider yourself barbecued. Kalibak swings his battle axe, ready to cut Bat Cow in two, when the giant Lincoln Head Penny is being raised by Damian and says, "Don't even think about it," as Damian picks up the penny and begins to fly it across the Batcave with lightning-fast speed and slams it right into Kalibak, forcing him into the Batcave wall. Batman comes to his feet and communicates with Cyborg. Cyborg tells Batman about another minute from being back online and is about ready to shut the boom tube door. Batman tells Cyborg to let him know when he's ready. Damian turns the Lincoln Head Penny to protect himself from Kalibak's sonic blast weapon. Kalibak is able to get the better of Damian, blasting him with the full force of a laser, surely burning him into the cave wall. Cyborg tells Batman 10 seconds and tells him he's ready to do whatever you're going to do. I'm going to close the portal door. Kalibak hears a large rumble. It's Batman in the Batplane. Batman says, "Time to send you back to hell." With the full force of the Batplane, Batman rams it right into Kalibak and ejects himself from the Batplane, seconds before Kalibak and the Batplane disappear into the boom tube, and then Cyborg closes the tube. The dazed members of the Bat family start standing to their feet, and they see Damian holding a very large, double-edged battle axe in his hands, something he should not be able to do. Damian says, "I'm feeling a little bit different, Father." Batman looks up at his son and says, "I've noticed. Let's get everyone checked before..." Batman is interrupted by Alfred and said, "We're a little worse for the wear, but consider everyone up to snuff, Master Bruce." Standing before Alfred are Batgirl, Red Robin, and Cyborg now on his feet, and Red Hood. Damian is on the floor rolling around with Titus. Damian thanks Pennyworth for taking care of his animals while he was gone. Alfred embraces Damian. Damian says that he's glad to see Pennyworth too, and then turns to the group and says, "I'm even happy to see all of you again." Tim says, "Don't go getting all sappy on us." Batman checks to make sure that Kalibak went back to Apocalypse. Cyborg tells Batman that all the bugs have been scrubbed and he's good to go. Cyborg tells Batman he will bring the boys and girls up at the HQ up to speed. Batman says they'll want to make an in-person action report. Cyborg says, "What makes you think they'll want to do that?" Red Robin, Batgirl, and Red Hood remove the R insignias from their uniforms and hand them over to Damian. Batgirl says, "There's only one Robin." "That there is," Damian says. Damian looks at his father and says, "It seems I have powers, Father." Batman looks down and says, "It seems like you do. We've got a lot to talk about." Alfred leads the team up to Wayne Manor. Let's all return to the dining room. I do believe there's a new birthday to celebrate. Meanwhile, somewhere near the Himalayas, a group of settlers in the snow are having dinner when a naked woman walks into their camp and says, "I'm hungry," and then begins to kill the members of the tribe, leaving at least one, and asks the woman, "Who are you?" The woman looks down and says, "I don't know." Later that evening at Wayne Manor, after the festivities are over for celebrating Damian's return, Bruce and Titus and Alfred go out to the back of Wayne Manor and look at the empty graves that once held Talia and Damian himself. Damian asks if he has to do more tests tomorrow. Bruce says, "Of course, I need to figure out more about these powers." Damian says, "Why? I'm not in any physical danger. What's the problem?" Bruce says, "You're a 10-year-old boy and having these powers is a problem." "Indeed," Alfred states. Damian turns and says, "You promise, no matter what, I could go on patrol the next time the signal hits." Bruce says, "I'll keep that promise as long as you listen and follow every word that I say." Damian looks at the ground and says, "I'm grounded. I'm still familiar with that routine." Damian stares into the empty hole of the grave and thinks that he was once buried there in the cold dirt. Bruce asks him if he remembers anything after his death. Damian says, "No, nothing. Just the sharp pain of the heretic's sword and your voice crying out my name." Bruce tells Damian, "I would have traded places with you in a second." Damian says, "I know, but you couldn't. I had to go through this alone, like everyone does." Damian bends down and picks up a piece of his headstone and asks his father if it's a result of his rage. Bruce tells no, it's just the opposite. I destroyed your memorial. I made a choice to go after your stolen body on Apocalypse and to do everything I could to bring you back to life. The Shattered Stone represents your death, and from that moment I first swung the shovel, everything made sense. It was in that moment A weird moment of actual joy because your death wasn't a crushing weight anymore. Damian points out that his mother's headstone is still intact. Bruce tells Damian, I had made a clear mission, Damian. It was you, not your mother. Damian is holding on to one of Titus's baseballs and gives it a throw, and it goes about 100 miles an hour through a set of trees. Titus takes after the ball. Damian and Alfred are shocked by his toss. Damian calls after Titus. Then Damian sees a familiar light in the night sky. It's the bat signal. Alfred looks up in the sky and says, Is one night too much to ask? Bruce looks at Damian and smiles, and so does Damian. A few moments later, Batman is swinging through the Gotham City streets, and his son, Robin, the Superboy Wonder, is flying ahead of him. The end.